Canadians continue to want to work remotely or in a hybrid fashion. There's a new way of working with new types of workspaces and work styles where people communicate via text, email, or chat, signal the inevitable end to traditional phone communication? Or is it now more important than ever to improve voice quality? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Acronym Solutions webinar, New Advances in Voice, How to Reduce Costs and Increase Productivity for Your Business. I'm your host, Paulo Delibledo, and this webinar will feature a panel discussing the advantages of unified voice and collaboration technologies and the main benefits for businesses of all sizes. Joining me today is Michael Sone, who really truly needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyways. Michael Sone is the president and owner of NBI Michael Sone Associates, Canada's leading information and communications technology research and consulting firm. Michael has delivered the most informative market research and consulting in the Canadian telecom industry for more than 30 years. What makes Michael unique is that he uses proven statistical-based data from primary sources in the industry as part of the independent NBI Michael Sone Associates. Because of his independence, his reputation, and his contacts within the industry, NBI Michael Sone Associates is relied upon by most leading ICT companies and other organizations to track the industry. So please welcome Michael Sone.
Thank you.
Also part of the panel is David Turcotte, Acronym Solutions Product Manager specializing in voice and collaboration products. David has more than 20 years in the Canadian telecommunications industry in areas such as service development, strategic planning, product road mapping, and life cycle management. David's experience provides him with deep understanding of the various use cases for this technology and can help develop compelling business cases for its adoption. He's going to share some of those experiences with us today. As for me, your humble moderator, I'm Paul Delibledo, the channel chief for Jolera. Jolera and Acronym are business partners. But before my time in Jolera, I was a long-serving editor of Computer Dealer News magazine. So, fellas, I thought before we jump into it, I would give a little background, some marketplace tidbits about SIP Trunking. SIP stands for Session Initiation Protocol. This communications protocol handled signaling specifically for voice over IP networks, which has been hot for like 2 decades now, and has been an international standard since 1999. Trunking refers to a system configuration policy that services all callers at once by sharing a set of lines. Trunking does away with legacy dedicated phone lines and that annoying busy signal that comes with them. The combination of SIP and trunking technology allows for an empowering and a transformative digital experience that supports business class telephone services, as well as modern productivity tools like shared desktops, video conferencing, and a lot more. So let's get started. SIP has been available since the early 2000s. How has it made an impact on the Canadian market, and is there more to come? Michael, you want to get started?
Sure. Thanks, Paulo, and thank you to Acronym Solutions for giving me the opportunity to participate in this webinar. Well, at the turn of the millennium, SIP was the sexy new communications protocol and can now be thought of as a mature technology. By no means should it be considered outdated. Over the last 20 plus years, SIP has emerged from its internet roots to become the signaling technology of choice for the control of real-time multimedia communication via private, public, wireline, wireless IP networks. The SIP protocol was first used for presence and instant messaging because of its ability to easily set up real-time sessions. However, SIP is much more than simply a trunking functionality. It can also enable IP PBX trunking, peer-to-peer IP telephony, video conferencing, unified communications, which we're going to talk a lot more about, and other telecom applications. And SIP trunking really has transformed business communications because it permits the convergence of a firm's data and voice traffic, local LD, internal branch-to-branch communications over a single IP connection that provides access to the organization's WAN, the internet, the PSTN. So you say, well, why is that important? Well, mostly because it eliminates the need for separate voice and data network connections. It offers significant potential savings when compared with multiple T1s, PRI connections to the PSTN, and it really enables a plethora of IP-based applications to ride over the same facility. I don't think it would surprise anyone if I were to tell you that traditional voice calling over the PSTN is shrinking, and TDM technology, TDM stands for time division multiplexing, it's not a growth market, and this is true both for consumers and for businesses. Think about how many fewer calls you make in 2024 than what you made in 2014 or 2019, for that matter. Um, so VoIP, wireless communications, webinars, and the like haven't eliminated wireline TDM, but their divergent trajectories, one going up, one going down, those are unmistakable. So just to put some color on it, if we take a look at the slide, the business local TDM market revenues in 2023 were about 1.3 billion dollars, give or take, and the compounded annual growth rate from 2021 to 2025 is negative 6% or thereabouts. And the business local TDM market has been shrinking for at least year over year for the last 15 years at least. SIP trunking, on the other hand, revenues in 2023 were about $260 million with an 8 to 9% positive CAGR from 2021 to 2025. The end of last year, there were about 1.2 million trunks in service, and the compounded annual growth rate there is 10%. As I mentioned, SIP services have entered a mature phase, and as they do, some customers are choosing to take services from providers that deliver SIM trunking along with a portfolio of services that include internet and other data offerings, network security services, managed Wi-Fi, as well as cloud-hosted PBX. And by consolidating these services under one provider, some organizations save money and avoid the finger pointing that occurs when trying to troubleshoot an issue among multiple providers. So I'll turn it over to David.
Thanks. Thanks, Michael. Paulo, thanks for hosting. Yeah, 20 years ago when SIP was first offered, it was mainly just targeted at large businesses, banks, insurance companies, large companies that already had the money, that had already invested into their data network. So that was a key thing. They spent money and they saved money because of it. They had already built these extensive data networks that cost them millions of dollars to build, and SIP allowed voice just be a packet over their data networks. Now, they invested in MPLS, quality of service, and those things to allow pristine voice quality. But SIP allowed these businesses not just to put it over the data network, but also replace the PRIs and the 1FLs that Michael already spoke to. But they also saved huge amounts of money by consolidating their telephony infrastructure. They no longer needed branch PBXs. They could have a consolidated call manager in their head office supporting multiple locations all over the country, all over the world. So that was a huge amounts of savings for them. And 5 years ago, Acronym alone partnered with one of our larger customers and saved them $1 million a year in telephony costs. So that's everything from converting from PRIs to SIP channels, but also the consolidation of their PBX and their systems. This was a large customer, again, 100 locations, over 4,000 users, but they had already spent the money on the assets of the data networks so that they could then leverage that. And so that was a huge advantage to them. Originally only large customers could afford to upgrade their networks to carry the voice. But now we're seeing in the marketplace now, mid-sized businesses can do the same thing. Networks are prolific and sophisticated. Services like SD-WAN provide an option to effectively connect and manage small remote offices. You don't have to go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on network costs. MPLS, quality of service, all those big honking routers, as they call it. So now they can actually effectively do that themselves with small businesses or medium-sized businesses with small locations. And so now what used to be only available for large businesses is now a mid-market companies can do that as well. So that's really encouraging. And I think, Michael, that's why we're seeing the projected growth, the CAGR, as they call it, the 10% growth. So that basically means, like 10 to 20,000 new SIP channels per month, per 100,000 per year. So that's very, very exciting.
That's some real interesting cost benefit insight there, David. But let's get to the main issue here. The pandemic changed everything, or at least accelerated the inevitable. People were forced to work remotely. Technology was, leveraged to make that shift possible, which was great. But now, a few years later, work from anywhere has become the norm. Even some companies have implemented a return to office policies. It seems certain that things will, never be the same. Guys, with that perspective of the last few years, what are some of the biggest long lasting impacts we've seen on voice and collaboration technologies and the way we expect to work?
Yeah, so post-COVID, I never know if we're in COVID or out of COVID. I'm not sure. It
Well,
depends
hopefully, we're out of COVID.
it
I
depends
saw
who you're.
people. I saw people yesterday wearing masks.
Yeah,
That's
So
true.
I don't think we're
Yeah.
ever.
that's
I don't think we're ever out of it,
no,
unfortunately. But I guess
unfortunately.
it all depends on how you look at things. But we've certainly now mostly transitioned to a hybrid, office-based, home-based environment. And as you said, Paolo, there's no going back. This is probably never going to change, fortunately or unfortunately. And it isn't limited to traditional pre-pandemic types of hybrid workers. For example, call centers. We're all familiar with dealing with call centers that are in far-flung locations, but we now see it in industries that were always considered to be, dependent on in-person interaction. Take, the legal profession or medical diagnosis. I mean, medical diagnosis, so much of it now is done remotely. And, I have mixed feelings on that, as I'm sure we all do. But again, there's no going back. So as with all technologies, there's a double-edged sword at play. WFH, or work from home, has expanded the talent pool of available potential employees, and it can boost employee productivity. But we've seen pushback from companies, and also the familiarity, the sharing of information, the ability to interact and brainstorm right there in the moment with one's colleagues is potentially lost in the cloud. And I think that's the fear amongst employers. And work from home and now hybridization really have proven, and we'll talk about this more when we get into UCaaS. It's proven to be a boon for purveyors of unified communications as a service solutions, such as Acronym, as more communications move into the cloud. One thing I will say that has not happened, and despite the tremendous success of Zoom during the pandemic, people now use the word Zoom as they use the word Kleenex or Xerox, right? Like a brand name that stands for the generic technology or thing that they come to represent. The UC industry has not been significantly impacted by it. Zoom's success has been, mainly focused on consumer-facing businesses such as education and finance, as well as some small business. But in the mid-market and certainly in large market, um, the lack of PBX and voice services in Zoom's offering has limited its ability to compete in the broader business market. UC solutions have long been established as the standard for business communications, with features such as advanced call routing, unified messaging, advanced conferencing capabilities, and as a result, companies still rely on UC solutions to support their critical communications needs. So, um, while Zoom has emerged as a popular and effective tool for remote collaboration, it does not offer the full range of capabilities that many businesses require for the day-to-day operations. And It's allowed UC solutions such as Cisco WebEx and Microsoft Teams to emerge strongly in the business market. So I'll leave it with that. David?
Just to echo Michael's thoughts, the horse is out of the barn, right? And when I say that, people are working from home, they're being effective working from home, and I think that we can expect that to continue. But one of the things that I really see is that, you know, I've been in the telecom industry for a while. I spent the last 20 years trying to convince customers to move away from their legacy PBX, the key systems, the option 11s, and all those things. And the attitude basically was pre-pandemic: if it ain't broke, it doesn't need to be fixed, right? But we needed something, a catalyst or whichever you want to call it, to change that, right? And the pandemic changed that. People need to be able to work from home. They need to be able to have access to the same tools they did at work. We did some surveys with one of our customers, and we just phoned them during the pandemic, and they were on a phone system, and it was, I think we phoned 10 people. 3 of them, their voicemail was full. We couldn't leave a voicemail. And the other one was, reach me on my cell phone because I'm not in the office. So, and that was just disjointed and ineffective more than anything else, right? We need to be able to do that. So what we're really seeing is, the trends we're seeing now are remote meetings, including videos, are just standard. Here we are on a call talking about similar things, right? We're video, we're shipped, but we can't just be on a call. We need to share data. We need to share information. And it's not me pointing and turning my desktop around to show you on the camera. We need to be able to share that information. And as Michael said, we'll talk more about that with UCaaS, but it's really changed the world. Like, no one picks up the phone anymore, right? If I need to talk to you, I click the dial, I set up a call, I do those kind of things. And even internally, I don't. If I need to talk to somebody at the other end of the floor, I don't run over and talk to them. I use Teams, I use whatever the tool is. I just click the dial, I click to communicate with people, right? And most people most people meet in person for detailed collaboration, but I can share information with you, with a partner, with an internal person, quite effectively, right? And then when we come together in person to meet, we've already done most of the groundwork already. And we've seen that in a lot of the industries, legal, uh, other services where what everything had to be a meeting, everything had to be in person, but now we can share documents and we can communicate. And the key thing around that is, new generations, new generational workers who are powering the digital economy right now. They're the ones that we need: the SQL programmers, the Javas, all those things. You can't bring, if you need those people, or whether they're contractors or full-time employees, you can't say to them, you have to be in the office. We need to whiteboard this on a whiteboard. They won't. They have the power, I guess, to say, I don't want that job. So we have to be able to provide them and everyone the ability to have, work on a tablet, work on a laptop, work on a smartphone, whatever that is. Because I've literally worked with programmers who are working on a tablet. I'm making the change right now. It's done. Check it.
Yep.
And if I had to come into the office and do it on the laptop, or come into my desk and show me what you're going to do, they can just do it. And that's more effective. And anywhere on any device is the new mantra.
Yeah. Well, this is what we're talking about with new work flows and work styles. That is
Yes.
our daily reality now. Michael, you mentioned UCaaS. I wanted to bring that up, but what are the new drivers for voice in the mid-sized business to enterprise market? And how can, technologies like SIP trunking and UCaaS create that paradigm shift in terms of collaboration?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, let's talk about some of the drivers for voice, specifically UCaaS. The first, and in no particular order, I'll talk about a couple of them. Improved business continuity. In a UCaaS setup, hosted voice platforms and customer data, including account information, configuration, voicemail, they're stored in a service provider's secured data center. And this significantly reduces the risk of business interruptions compared to storing equipment and data on the customer premises. Um, so in the event of a disaster, and they happen, right? Customers can quickly resume operations without
What
losing
happened?
any data as long as they have access to a device and to an internet connection. With soft clients installed on an employee's device, it's possible to minimize or even eliminate the disruptions, and all that's required, as I said, is an internet connection to restore service. And this has, of course, been made even more evident with the work from home phenomenon. It makes it essential for businesses to have a reliable and flexible phone system that can be accessed from anywhere. Uh, Another driver is flexibility and scalability. The flexibility and scalability of UCaaS really is a key benefit for businesses with seasonal or variable workforces and with remote workers. Hosted voice and UC services allow employers to adjust their user base easily with minimal notice and pay only for additional services used. Increasing capacity typically involves upgrading IP access to greater bandwidth, adding more LAN ports, ordering additional rental phones, and configuring more users on the portal. Um, and then with the ability to just reverse those changes the next month or 2 or 3 months down the road. Uh, if you contrast that with the traditional PBX system or the key system, employers have to provision for peak capacity and pay for incremental capacity even when it's not in use. So during the pandemic, flexibility became even more crucial as many businesses, I'm sure we well recall this, faced significant disruptions. Another driver I'd mention is the whole enhanced features, application integration, fixed mobile convergence. Medium-sized businesses are increasingly recognizing the value of hosted voice offerings beyond simple cost reduction. I mean, cost reduction, of course, is important, but it's more than that. Enhanced features and integration capabilities such as IVR and seamless integration with widely used applications such as Salesforce.com are attracting SMBs that want to appear larger and are looking for a single platform to meet their standard call center needs. The growing trend of mobile use for both data and voice has also led to a demand for converged solutions. Although full-scale FMC, fixed mobile convergence, it's still in its early stages.
Mhm.
Many hosted providers offer integration through an app that enables a smartphone or tablet to mimic the office phone environment, as well as what's referred to as call pull, a call pull feature, which allows users to switch between desk phone, soft phone, smartphone in the middle of a conversation. And while these features may be still considered a luxury, or I don't know, maybe not, but the productivity improvements they bring have become increasingly important in driving businesses towards hosted voice solutions. So those are three of the drivers that I see.
David, what do you think some of the new drivers are?
I just echo, what Michael's already said. But the key thing that we're seeing here at Acronym is that, again, the focus on the customer experience. For the last 20 years, large enterprises were focused on saving money, and Acronym continues to reduce our customers' cost with innovative solutions. While no one's going to say no, I don't want to save money. What we're seeing are the key drivers right now are that customer experience. that focus. Today's solutions allow customers to contact their suppliers via click or on a website, or talk to someone via a portal on their smartphone, or just contact someone. Contact centers now provide best-in-class solutions. And, as Michael said, the key thing around this, they're powered by APIs and artificial intelligence, and focused on improving that customer experience. And you know, that is the key thing. How can they better provide that experience? Because now acquiring new customers is important, but maintaining existing customers is just as important. And that's the key top priority for many of our customers that we're meeting up with today, because there are alternate solutions out there. So be that lawyers, services, whichever. So they're always striving to show value to their customers and how they care.
And I guess the experience level changes with the type of customer that you're dealing with. But fellas, let me take it back. During the pandemic, many companies were forced to implement changes very, very quickly. But now they're faced with determining how to pivot from that to like a longer term solution. Based on your knowledge, your insights, your experience, what advice would you give a mid-sized business who is looking to implement something more permanent, scalable, cost-effective, obviously, type of business communication solution?
Oh, okay. Thanks, Paul. One piece of advice I would give is don't, and I guess this is what it's all about, don't be afraid to outsource. The integration of telecom services into IT departments has been a growing trend in recent years, and many businesses find that their IT staff is more knowledgeable about computer technology than about telephony. And although the skill gap can be resolved through training and hiring, outsourced and fully managed solutions eliminate the need for it entirely. Uh, Administration of a hosted service can be managed through a customer service portal, as we know, and it is straightforward enough that almost any IT person or office manager can handle it with minimal training. It's particularly beneficial for companies that do not have a robust IT department. And even if we look at large enterprises which do have robust IT departments, including many of the country's leading financial institutions that one might think of as staid and slow to adopt new technology, they're actually also transitioning to cloud voice services. The experience of maintaining an in-house IP-based voice system has led many firms to realize that the complexity and the cost of maintaining a high-quality service, as well as staying up to date with collaboration and other features, it's no longer worthwhile compared to the value offered by some of the hosted solutions that are available on the market. Second, I would say, a mid-sized business, or any business for that matter, needs to make sure that its prospective solutions provider can make the case for and be able to provision advanced features. Show me a business that is tight with its customers and with its suppliers, and I'll show you a successful business. So can the provider offer a full suite of advanced features to facilitate this? For example, SIP enables UC applications such as federation, where applications and even databases are shared between an organization and its customers and suppliers. And it's the glue that can interconnect video conferencing units, mobile handsets, desk phones, PCs, tablets, and other devices. Do you have a well thought out BYOD plan that is supported by your provider? BYOD, which is bring your own device, it really emerged as a serious phenomenon about a decade ago. And so while SIP itself predates BYOD, the technology addresses and has in fact stimulated increased acceptance of BYOD, since the technology allows employees to use smartphone apps to make and receive voice over IP business calls, thereby increasing productivity. So given the demand for greater mobility and virtual office use, BYOD is becoming increasingly significant for the adoption of for SIP-based services. Finally, I'll just say, is it important for you to see traffic dynamics in real time. So for some companies, the answer is yes. For other companies, perhaps less so. But for those in the former category, make sure that your provider is able to supply you with real-time view of traffic utilization, with visibility on a per trunk and per session port utilization that facilitates optimization and facilities planning. So, David, what do you think?
Well, Michael, as you said, there's a lot of benefits for mid-market companies to look at UCaaS solutions, right? Ultimately, the businesses have to determine whether they want an OpEx model, a per subscription pay, or do they want a CapEx model where they
Yeah.
spend a bunch of money and write it off over a few years, right? The nice part about the OpEx model is, it's predictable monthly charges. And I know it's scalable, it's reliable. And I know that if I add 10 users, I know what those costs are going to be. I don't have to worry that, oh, I need more SIP licenses or I need a new session border controller or whichever, right? Those are predictable costs. We talked about that previously about the UCaaS piece, about where they're going along those lines. The only challenge with that is that, then they have to relinquish control. And that's a really challenging thing for many customers. Their IT department has been doing something a certain way for a long time. Uh, it's taken, in some cases, years to convince and work with customers to move to an OpEx model, right? It's not just about IT, it's also now about financial accounting and changing all those things. I've done it with businesses. I've done it with governments. It takes a while, but once they see that, and it takes a lot of time, it's really worth. Ultimately, it has to be worth their while. Uh, from a financial and even a legal perspective, right? One of the things though that I'd really say is that the way the UCaaS market is right now, it's offering, as Michael said previously, it's offering mid-market companies and even smaller businesses the opportunity to look large and professional to their customers, giving them features and services that they couldn't have offered to their customers 10 years ago. That's contact center. That's even just IVRs and auto attendants that are easy to now set up as opposed to the old hardware ways, right? So those are the key things. But one of the things that we have to really look at, if you're doing this, you have to do your research. Businesses, you can't take people based off what they're telling you. You have to do the research. You have to ask the potential service providers, do you guarantee the services with a service level agreement? Are you guaranteeing an uptime? Do you offer mean time to response? Right? It's not mean time to repair because there are ways to do things, but mean time to response is a very effective way to to evaluate your potential providers. How long have they been a service provider? There are many companies out there that get some capital funding, do their thing, and try to gather as many customers as they can. And over time, the services diminish.
Yeah.
What other services do they offer? The nice thing about Acronym is we base ourselves on connectivity first, and then we layer those applications, voice, security, all those things on top of things, right? We talked about SD-WAN, right? So those are things that we do effectively. And again, ask for details on security planning and prevention. Security is a key area right now that everyone in the back of their mind is evaluating any solution on. If they're not, they should probably look and reevaluate what their priorities are.
So those are definitely a lot of questions to ponder. And speaking of
Yes.
questions, we do have one from the audience, fellas. And I know
Oh,
that we're running short on time, so I do want to encourage everyone in the audience to let's continue this conversation that we've started here with David and Michael and the team at Acronym. So the question is a pretty basic one, and that is, what does the future hold? So, fellas, not sure if you own or use a crystal ball, but
mm.
like and Should the customer or the solution provider look to future-proof maybe some of this technology solutions as we move ahead?
Hold on, let me get to my drawer here. I'll take out my crystal ball and oh, it's cracked. What am I going to do? All right.
Oh, you got to shine that up first.
Yes.
Yeah, future. I mean, when you talk of future proofing, really, what you're asking is how can I reduce the risk of obsolescence? A good UCaaS provider continuously maintains and updates its service platforms, reducing the risk of obsolescence for businesses, for its customers, for its prospective customers. And this is particularly advantageous for companies that may not need advanced features currently, but they anticipate needing them in the future, or maybe they don't even anticipate in the moment, but then all of a sudden they say, "Oh, we need such and such," and the service provider's got to respond. Um, and it's especially true in today's rapidly changing technology landscape, where businesses must adapt quickly to stay competitive. With a multi-tenant platform, new features are immediately available to all users as soon as they are implemented, which eliminates the need for individual upgrades and ensures that all customers have access to the latest advancements. So I would say, I mean, this benefit allows businesses to remain up to date with latest technologies without the burden of managing their own upgrades or investing in costly hardware, software solutions. As you know, David mentioned moving to an OpEx model. In addition, UCaaS providers often offer regular software updates and security patches. There's that security bug that can often be a bugaboo that is absolutely critical, and those patches ensure that the system remains secure and up to date, which further mitigates the risk of obsolescence. UCaaS solutions are going to continue to offer a range of collaboration tools that enable remote teams to collaborate seamlessly, from video conferencing to instant messaging to file sharing. These tools will help business units stay connected and work together effectively despite physical distance. As finally, I would say, as the pandemic led to a surge in UC adoption, and it's continuing. Microsoft Teams has become a mainstream UC tool and telephony platform for many companies, and this is going to continue to grow, and is partly due to its seamless integration with 365, and the fact that it's already available on the desktop, making it an easy choice for many organizations. And lastly, I'd say, voice calls, as we've said a few times already, are going to continue to become ever less critical, and companies are increasingly valuing collaboration tools and user experience. The trend towards webinar type meetings is on the rise, and we can expect to see fewer voice-only calls or conference calls in the future.
David?
Well, again, I'm in Michael's shadow here, cast a broad shadow. I would say everything that Michael has already stated, but the only thing I'd add is, again, sounding like a broken record, which I guess is just dating myself. Uh, Customer service and customer experience will be the top priority for businesses. If you can show the value
Yeah.
of your applications and your services that you offer with a roadmap for those things. So service providers who can integrate solutions through APIs, leveraging AI intelligence as it comes through artificial intelligence, that or solutions that integrate with other applications such as customer relationship management or supply chain applications, will make business challenges easier. So look for open platforms, getting away from those solutions that are out there that the model Ford, the Ford, back in the day, have any color you want as long as it's a certain
Model
color.
T.
Yeah,
As
Model
long as
T,
black.
right? Yeah, as long as it's black. We have to be able to adapt and provide anything you want and integrate. And so part of that discussion is with a customer to say, what applications are important to you? Are they open sourced as well? Because sometimes you'll run into customers that say, oh, I use this. Well, that doesn't work with anything other than that provider's solution. So you need to have, look at the open source. And again, I'll just say it one more time. And one of my peers is, he's not paying me to say this, but secure and reliable availability is always important. And our philosophy is available on anywhere, any device is a recipe for success, right? So again, open standards.
All right. Well, those are some really good key takeaways for the audience, and we'll leave it there. So, David, we'll have you have the last word there. And thank you again, David and Michael, for all the great insight. Now, there's a lot to unpack here for certain, but the conversation does not have to end here with this webinar. If you do have any questions or feedback, we welcome it. So let's continue talking. But for now, I want to thank my panelists, Michael Sone of NBI, Michael Sone and Associates, and David Turcotte of Acronym Solutions. It was a pleasure. That's it for me, Paul Donegan. Thank you very much for tuning into the Acronym webinar, New Advances in Voice, How to Reduce Costs and Increase Productivity for Your Business. Until next time, so long for now.
Take care.
Thanks.